Okay, we're going to get the meeting in order tonight. The first, what we can do maybe is bring a microphone down there when we get started so everybody doesn't have to keep on getting up. First thing I'd like to say is we had a tragedy in West Newbury yesterday that a 2.5-year-old girl drowned at the Mill Pond. And Joe and Archie and I had spoken before, and they obviously can say something, but we just wanted, all of us wanted to give our thoughts out to the family, and in our thoughts out to our first responders, which are our police and our fire department, and the ambulance company, and whoever else that was involved, because it's a serious, obviously, thing, and it's very hard, and on a lot of different levels. So we just wanted to thank them for the professionalism, and I don't know, it's a hard thing to speak about when you have to speak about it, and I wish we didn't have to, but I just wanted, our thoughts are out to the family, and to thank all the first responders again for being there for their citizens. Okay, the only thing on the agenda tonight is a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Moderator, FinCom, Finance Director, Town Clerk, Town Council, to go over the annual town meeting and our special town meeting, which is going to be held on Monday, April 25th. Okay, I'd like to, just so we all understand, because there was a little confusion because of the posting of last year, because one was at 8 o'clock, one was at 7 o'clock. We're going to post the special town meeting for 7 o'clock and the annual town meeting at 7 o'clock. And this might be all overkill, but I just want to go over it. So we open up the special town meeting. We hear the reports from the...
Annual.
Excuse me. I have it annual written right down here. We open up the annual town meeting. We listen to the reports from the town, if any, at that time. Citizen of the Year, a little housekeeping stuff like that goes on. We put that in recess, and then we start with the special town meeting. We go through that and finish that, and then we go back to the annual town meeting. Correct? Just as a guide. So we have to make sure when we're signing them, when we're making them out, they both are posted at 7 p.m. On April 25th. Okay? Is there anything?
Somebody will find a problem with that.
Yeah, I understand.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But I just wanted to make sure we all, if the more we say it, the more we get things done. So do you guys, you want to start with our annual town meeting and go through that? And talk about it and see if we have any questions, any concerns, any clarifications for legal, for the moderator, and for whomever else is here tonight? Sound good?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, obviously, Article 1 is on the election. Pretty straightforward. Just please stop me with a noise, because I'll be looking down. And then the Article 2 is to hear the reports of the town officers and committees. And again, Chris, if you could send out a blast email to everybody, if anybody plans on giving a report, if they could get back to you, and then you could make a list so we could give to our moderator so she has some type of understanding of who's up and who's not. Okay? And then the Article 3 is our omnibus budget. Do we want to go through that? Okay, the only thing that I think I'll mention something, and then we can, if you guys have anything. The only thing that we might want some guidance on, but not guidance, I think we know how to handle it, is our ladder truck is being paid out of this at a monthly payment. We're actually saving the town some money and going to have a, what? Section 15 in its capital outlay. It's for $44,782. So there will be a special we want to keep it in there because there's a special article that pays the thing off. Yeah, a special article, a special town meeting article on the special town meeting that pays it off, and it will save us some money, and we're taking that out of free cash. But we have to have it on here because we have to pay it, just in case this doesn't do it. So one of the selectmen are going to put a hold on this, or not put a hold on it. If it passes, we're going to put a hold on it, and then bring that down to 0. And if it doesn't pass, for some strange reason, we'll leave it alone. Right? Is that all?
Right.
Is that everything that we can?
And this includes, this piece, this part is included in the payoff. So it's not two pieces, this would be
Right.
part of the whole.
Yes.
Let's go over the articles, and then if the finance committee has any questions on the budget, we can maybe do that.
Yep, but
after.
she just asked if there was going to be anything on the budget. That was my only question on that.
Right.
Okay.
There could be others.
Okay, so
So does
then,
that seem reasonable to do it that way?
Yes. That's, actually, that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Because we take up the special before we get to the omnibus budget.
Mhm.
And if that passes on the special, then you gotta leave those funds in the omnibus.
Correct.
That's why you have to.
We'll put a hold, and then we'll ask, when you come back to it, ask for it to be 0. Okay, so now we're on we're still on the annual town meeting, and we're on Article 4. This is the thing about the water commissioners.
Some years, someone
Yeah.
So we're going to vote all these articles too, right?
You want to?
I think the finance committee is going to ask us for our vote.
You want to do that tonight, gentlemen
We have to.
and ladies? Okay? And what I would like to do, Mike B., I would like to, while we're voting them, I would like to make sure we designate where the funding is coming from tonight, so there's no questions. Please.
Move to
Okay.
approve Article 5.
Okay, Article 5 is I was on Article 4, so that one's straightforward. Article 5. And those numbers reflect the changes that we asked for from the 3 to 2.5%, Mike B.?
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved, and I will
Second.
Archie will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 6, to see if the town will vote.
Well, is the finance committee, have you voted on these articles?
We voted at the annual town meeting, yes.
So
You want-
we
could
should
you-
get,
we- yeah.
before we vote, we should actually get their vote.
Sounds good to me. Okay, ready? So we were 300.
I assume you
The
passed this.
FinCom is?
600.
Okay.
Correct. Excellent. Okay, Article 6, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $7,300 for the Water Enterprise Fund Stabilization Account to purchase a hydraulic power unit by the request of the Board of Water Commissioners. Could I ask the funding of this stabilization account of the Water Department? Right. Funding of Article 6?
Read the article, Glenn.
I just did.
Water Department, Enterprise State.
Well, I know, that's what I said. It was a rhetorical question. I just wanted to, I said the stabilization of fund. Okay, Finance Committee,
600.
please talk into the microphone. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
300. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $50,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund Stabilization Account to purchase a 3/4-ton four-wheel drive utility pickup truck with plow by request of the Board of Water Commissioners. Finance? Committee?
600.
Move to approve Article 7.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 300. Number 8, Article 8, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $26,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund free cash account to the Water Enterprise Stabilization Fund by the request of the Board of Water Commissioners. FinCom?
600.
Any motion from the Board of Selectmen?
Move to approve Article 8.
Been moved,
Second.
and it's been seconded by Archie. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 300. Yes, sir.
Point 6, 7, and 8 all have to be two-thirds vote.
6, 7, and 8 have to be two-thirds vote because it's putting something in or taking something out of a stabilization account. Okay? Article number 9, to see if the town will vote pursuant of Mass General Law. Do people want me to read these? Is it?
I think if someone's watching on TV,
Okay.
you need.
Yeah.
To see if the town will vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5B, to create a special purpose municipal stabilization fund, to be known as the Pension Liability Stabilization Fund, in order to to fund future pension liabilities and to raise, inappropriate, and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $50,000 for such stabilization fund, or take any other action relative thereto. This is by the Board of Selectmen.
The FinCom didn't vote on this because we just had no information on it, so we were hoping to hear from you guys.
Okay, Archie or Joe, would you like to explain to the
Okay.
FinCom?
Well, we've got $6.4 million liability related to future...
Unfunded liability.
Unfunded liability, related to future pension payments for future retirees of the town. And new accounting regulations stipulate that that has to be put on the unfunded liability has to be put on the balance sheet now. Before, it was just there, but people could ignore it. Now it's a little more obvious. It can actually be, it's mandated that it be shown on the balance sheet. And since we've been successful in funding our health future retirement fund, the OPEB account,
Which we have fully funded.
now maybe we start to just in dribs and drabs when the town is in a good financial situation to put money aside for this. Now you say, well, we have the Essex Retirement Board. That's where our pension money is going now. So why don't we just give them a little bit more money? Well, it turns out Mike Braccino can speak more about that than I can, but we investigated that, and it's pretty much impossible for us to add extra money to that account. It's very difficult. They don't want to deal with it. So and this would be something that we don't necessarily have to do every year, but it will be there. And it's the other good thing is it would be tappable if we needed to, not even though it's for the pension liability, because it hasn't been given over to the retirement board. If the town was in a situation where it needed the funds, you could actually use it for something else. It's a stabilization fund, so it would require a 2/3 vote, but it would be, we could use it for something else if the need arose. Why don't we just leave it in free cash and do it later? You say, well, theoretically, we can get a little bit more income if it's invested long-term in a stabilization account versus just being in free cash. So that's the rationale behind that. Having said that, the members of the Capital Improvements Committee were a little concerned that we haven't this year put money away for our traditional stabilization fund that we use to fund our been funding our dump trucks and roofs and things like that for basically our rainy day savings account. And they were a little concerned about that. This year, we're actually not, we're going to be funding our capital purchases because our free cash account is quite flush. We're going to, instead of putting money in the stabilization and then taking it right back out, which hurts our investment strategy, we're going to just take it directly from free cash and not put it into stabilization. There's a little bit of a problem with doing that because now we don't have to have a 2/3 vote on the issues on whatever article we're using and what expenditure we're making. We won't have a 2/3 vote, so that's the only problem with maybe doing it this way. So why am I bringing up that issue? Because we don't have an article for the regular stabilization account. And the Capital Improvements Committee was unanimous in thinking maybe we should add an additional article to put $100K in the traditional stabilization account, and the article that's now number 9 that I discussed about the pensions might be priority 2. So that's sort of where we leave it. I kind of feel that we could afford to do both, and I'd like to have the pension liability thing there, even with a nominal amount, even if we put 20,000 in there, just to have it in the back of our minds. Is this something for the next 30 years that we can keep contributing to? Maybe ultimately this will help us out. There's no way we're going to put away 6.4 million. We're going to have an unfunded pension liability. That's going to happen even if we'd invested in Google, but 20 years ago. But it's still a good idea to do this. So I'd like to. This was sort of new information. I realize it, but I'm just throwing it out there to see what you think. I personally think we could do both, but if not, I think that maybe the traditional capital improvements stabilization account should be funded first, and then we think about whether we want to do this. I ran all the numbers, and even if we did pretty much all the items, articles out of free cash that we had anticipated, plus this additional amount, we'd still have enough that we would be over the we'd be over 5%, which is sort of the recommendation of the Department of Revenue. So I got to find the number. We'd still have, even if we did all the things, we'd still have 789,000, which is 5.6% of our operating budget. So I just throw that out.
One thing, Joe.
I agree about the unfunded pension liability. You talked about a recommendation for $100,000 into the normal stabilization fund. Did the Capital Improvements Committee ever give us their annual report? Because I don't remember reading it.
Well, there's the data on that. If we look at the next few years, even though the problem is that the numbers have not been updated adequately. In other words, we haven't got good information back from all the departments on where we stand on whether, in other words, whether we can delay some purchases out a little longer than we thought. But if we just did it the way it is now, after 5 years, we would have a deficit.
So the answer to your question is no.
And the answer is right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to vote on putting $100,000 in since they didn't give us a report.
Correct. So can I ask one question? So the 789 is with or without the $100,000 for the regular stabilization?
Including taking that out.
Or for the pension, for $100,000.
For taking the pension money out and the $100,000.
Would
yes.
be 789.
Right.
And we have a aggregate number of all the articles that should be traditionally being taken out of stabilization, but we have planned on taking them out of free cash. How much is that? Around.
It could be a couple $100,000. It all depends on how you would classify the work on the
Okay.
DPW work for 100K. I mean, if
Which
that's
work?
to cover maintenance to avoid capital.
Which one?
The DPW, all buildings.
The article?
Right, because you have a couple of trucks that were on the schedule.
So let's not count that. So it's basically 100 grand then.
Yeah.
Just say it's 100 grand. So there's your payment. Archie.
Okay.
So does that explanation answer any questions that you might have had, or do you have now questions because we explained it to you?
I think it answers the question as to why you want to start the pension stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
but it opens up the door of why we're not running things through the stabilization fund as we have historically.
I think just, I mean, we're
Okay, but
discussing the
hold on.
town.
Can I say one
Yeah.
thing first? Article number 9 has not, he added on that to the end. Article number 9 has nothing to do about us running something through the stabilization.
Correct.
That was
Right.
something in lieu, Archie's was saying, in lieu of putting money into the stabilization this year, we're going to take it from free cash, right? When we have to kind of discuss that some more. Take it from free cash so we don't bother the money that's in the stabilization because we're getting more return on that money. That's the reason why. I'm not saying that's the right reason, but that's the thought process at this point. So that doesn't have to do with the 50. We just think that we got an audit, and the audit said we have too much free cash. That was a very specific thing in the audit. It says we have too much free cash. You know, you have too much for your annual, but you know the whole thing. So, and we've been trying, we thought successfully over the years, in the last 2 or 3 years, to try to bring that number down a little bit to a more realistic number that what we should be carrying. So this year, we want to do that. And with that $50,000, we need some type of money to open up the fund. So we can debate, should we open up the fund, one thing, and then we can debate how much money you want to put in there. But we think, like Archie said, even if it's 20 grand, we need to open up the fund and start putting money away. We've been trying to do it in some way and using free cash because we have too much. Now, hypothetically, even if we put $100,000 into stabilization, we have almost $800,000. After everything gets zeroed out at the end of this year and so forth and so on, that number, when it's certified in the fall, will probably be up to $1.3 million again.
But for the purposes of the vote, why not transfer whatever we need into stabilization and then vote the articles out of stabilization? Paper-wise, it's just a wash, but at least it forces the 2/3 vote where they belong.
Yeah, we can do that. And I argued that point a lot in the beginning, because that's what we've always done, and why we even bother having a stabilization fund if we're not going to follow the proper procedures. But I don't think us three up here feel very comfortable with the CIC and how it's done, and we need to really update it and update it and update it, because it's really not,
And that's what I was going to say. There's a town bylaw that says they're supposed to give us a report at least 6 weeks prior to annual town meeting. That did not occur. So we're going to talk about the whole process, the committee, everything, invite them in after town meeting.
In looking at past finance committee reports, it looked like there was sort of a policy, and I'm sort of asking, is this right, that $300,000 a year go into stabilization? I appreciate the concerns you have, but I'm sort of wondering if we're following that policy.
It wasn't really a policy.
Well,
It was an amount of money based on the spending, so based on what's going to flow out over time, an amount needs to flow in, so it's based on that.
Okay,
Some
okay.
years it was 200, some was 250. Recently it was 300, but not because that was by statute or anything. It was just 300 because we needed 300 if you look down the line, yeah.
Right, and I understand that you want to get this back in motion, but I guess I just, for myself, am interested in making sure stabilization stays on track.
Oh, me too, and that's why
So,
we're bringing it up to talk about it.
we need to get it back on track, and that's why we're going to have him in here.
It presently has 1.2 million in it. So it's not like it's barren.
There's $1.2 million in our stabilization account. We have $1.75 million in our free cash account, and then there's all the other things.
So do you need to go and talk about Article 9 later, or are you going to vote now, or what are you going to do?
I think we'd probably vote later.
Later? Okay. I move to approve Article 9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
But if you could, and I'm going to say it so we can move on, this has, if you could separate them, this has nothing to do with us paying, putting money into stabilization. We want to do this
Independently.
independently no
Yeah.
matter what, so I don't want them to be linked. If people feel that we need to put money into stabilization, and if we put it in stabilization, then we can't do this. We want to do this no matter what.
So the funding source is free cash?
Free cash. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to transfer in the sum of $9,422 for the septic loan revolving account. Repayment of debt service, this has been on there since...
600.
Make a
Okay. I move to approve Article 10.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Funding.
11, to see if the town will vote to transfer for available funds $107,400 to pay the debt service associated with the Dunn property acquisition.
600.
I move to approve Article 11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are we going to say the funding source?
What is the funding source for that? It's,
That's Ed.
isn't it on,
It's a grant reserve account.
Right.
The money's already.
yeah, I mean, we have the money, we just have to transfer it for the pay it, right?
Right.
Okay, and the same with the septic, well, that was when we had Title V, and they gave us a grant for people who had to, in emergency situations, had to switch over to Title V, and that money we loaned up. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of what,
Did you do done?
Yes. We did.
Done is
place
done
in
is
special
done.
purpose municipal stabilization
thing.
fund established pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section B, in order to fund future capital expenditures for the school-related building projects, or take other actions relative thereto. Questions?
No questions. FinCom voted 600.
I move to approve Article 12.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this one is from raise and appropriate.
Yep.
Number 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $5,000 to add to a special fund established in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53I, or is that 1? For celebration of the West Newbury Bicentennial in 2019 by the request of the Board of Selectmen.
FinCom 600.
I move to approve Article 13.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this is going to be coming out of free cash? Oh, or raise or appropriate. Where is this coming from? Free cash?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what our intention was. Article 14, to
Is that
see
what
if...
you have, Mike?
Yes.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $30,401 to remodel the library children's room into a dynamic early learning space.
FinCom was 600.
I move to approve Article 14.
Second.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Free cash?
Yes.
Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $41,023 to purchase a new police vehicle and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to dispose of the old vehicle in the best interest of the town.
FinCom voted 150.
1 to approve and 5 to disapprove.
Correct.
I move to approve Article 15.
Second.
Okay, I want to discuss this.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, this is going to replace a cruiser. One thing that was not part of the discussion the other day about this new resource officer. Is that person going to need a cruiser? That was
No.
never.
Yeah,
That was part of the discussion?
Yes.
and the answer is no.
There's a lot of head. Thank you.
Well, I think the answer was, let me restate that. If there's a cruiser available, that he would take it, he or she would take it.
If,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
take
it's
the
not going to
school bus.
require an extra cruiser.
Okay, so we have 4 cruisers right now plus a chief's vehicle. That's what we have.
Yep.
In our inventory. And the most shifts we run per day are 2. And the chief is allowed to, obviously does what he does with his car. So if one breaks down, we have 2 backups. If somebody needs to go to court and we run 2 shifts, we still have enough vehicles. So I would ask that we don't I would say I was going to vote no on this.
Okay.
I'm just trying to, or vote to take it off, so there is not even a discussion on town meeting floor.
I'd rather not, I don't want to do that myself. I don't know what you feel like.
So we don't, well, hold on, he's just, 1 second, Mr. McGrath.
I have no comments. I'm in favor of it, but,
You're in favor of the new cruiser?
yes,
So you're not in favor of me taking it off?
no.
Try to trick you there. Yeah, I just want, he was in the, Joe asked Archie, like, was put to, Mr. McGrath?
In our discussion, you'll get the vote on the article. However, I think I'm correct in saying we're amenable to see it as a line item, as a capital purchase. But we haven't gotten there yet, so you don't know that, but this will give you a heads up.
You want to see it on the line item budget?
His-
I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Historically, the agreement last year was that we were going to start putting this on as a line item,
Yes,
as it was part of a routine piece of equipment for,
yes.
for the
And-
crew.
And I think just in an ideal world,
Mm-hmm.
accounting, according to pure accounting principles,
Mm.
absolutely. But I think to Glenn's point earlier, the auditor called us out on having way too much free cash. So I don't want to raise taxes by $41,000 when we have way too much free cash.
Okay, but, so, which car are we getting rid of?
There are three.
So we're going to keep, okay. Okay. Any other questions? Vote to approve Article 15.
Aye.
Aye.
Just point of information, could we change that to free cash, though?
It
Yeah, I
says
think
to
that's
see if
what
the
it
town will
says.
vote to raise an appropriate and/or transfer from available
That's what it
funds.
is. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, so the available funds would be from free cash.
Did you vote?
No, not yet. I say no. So 2-1. And it's coming from free cash. But remember, okay, never mind. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to authorize the summer recreation revolving fund for the Park and Recreations Commission as described in Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half of the Massachusetts General Law for FY 2017. This revolving fund would be to accept receipts and fees charged to participants of the summer recreation program. The receipts would be expended not to exceed $42,000 in FY 2017 by the Parks and Recreation Commission for the payment of program-related wages, expenses, and field trips of the 2017 summer recreation program, or to take any other action relative thereto. This was requested by the Park and Recreations Commission. Sure. Could you, Mike, could you grab that for you guys so you don't have to pass it back and forth too much? Because nobody's coming in, and
Okay.
this is the only meeting we're having tonight.
Don't forget to turn on.
Turn it on. Yeah, if
No,
you're
I
on,
mean-
yours would be on.
Hello?
The one we just gave out. Okay, so what's up?
Okay? Okay. I don't understand the language. Did we allow this revolving fund to lapse, so we have to reauthorize it, or? is it-
Michael, M?
Has to be.
Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half require a reauthorization. of the
Annually.
Annually, at the annual town meeting.
And do I remember correctly that any funds that weren't expended in the previous fiscal year roll over to be used?
That would be my
Yes.
They roll over, okay.
Okay. FinCom?
600.
I move to approve Article 16.
Been moved, and I'm going to second it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. To see if the town will vote to authorize a revolving fund for FY 2017 for the Cable Advisory Committee as described in Chapter 44, Sections 53E and a half and 53F and 3/4 of the Massachusetts General Laws. This revolving fund would be accept funds received in connection with the franchise agreement between the cable operators and a municipality commonly referred to as a PEG, Public Education in Government. The receipts would be expended not to exceed $56,000 in FY 2017 by the Cable Advisory Committee for the payment of programs-related wages, expenses, and equipment, or such other purposes as permitted by the statute and/or to take any other action relative thereto by the request of the Cable Advisory Committee. FinCom?
600.
I move to approve Article 17.
Second.
It's moved, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 18, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $7,500 to purchase the services pertaining to aerial photography of the town for the purpose of providing information to the Assessor's Office, the Building Inspector, Planning, Conservation, and others.
FinCom 60.
Been
I
600.
move to approve Article 18.
Moved, it's been moved, and I'll second it. And let's have some discussion. Archie?
I don't know, I always, this article always, always, always kind of
Could you give us the, can you give
annoys
us the
me.
rationale that was presented to the FinCom, please? Maybe that might help a few things.
The project is done on, as far as I know, every 2 or 3 years to get accurate information, and
It's
Needed.
the time.
it's just time.
I just wonder if every time we do it, if it's a law of diminishing returns, okay, we did it a few years ago, what do
And
we
what
get?
benefit did it have, and how did it help the town, and did we get $7,500 worth of?
I think Glenn, from just remembering, this is just remembering from the past, what Glenn would say is that, Glenn Closey, that it's a lot more detail, extremely lot more detail than like a Google Earth. And they use it for that purpose, to compare today versus 3 years ago versus 6 years ago. If somebody put an addition on their house or changed something, and that has happened. That's his answer. I don't know what else.
Mr. McGrath?
This is a flyover, it's at lower level, and it's a high resolution. And both the building inspector and the assessor's office are able to do a lot of what would have had to have been field work, or something that had to have been reported as out of order on activities on property, even property boundary lines. And I think it is a very productive tool, and currentness of it is a key feature to it. So that when the assessor or the building inspector is looking at something like after a heavy winter a few years ago, we had a request for a Board of Health permit for an ice cream stand. And with that being current, because they had heavy winter, a building immediately adjacent to that had become unsafe with a chance of the wall falling over. Now, nobody might have ever seen that had we not had current stuff. So that is how I see it as a working tool for different departments.
And you'll probably get a question at town meeting about Google Earth or something like that, but they're not, it's not.
It's night and day.
Yeah, and they're not up to date. Like, I used an example, I think the last time, that I had taken one in case that question, and there was a trampoline in my backyard, and I hadn't had a trampoline in 3 or 4 years, but it was still, the picture I had that day was still of a trampoline in my yard. Okay, it's been moved, it's been seconded, we had a discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Article 19, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 13, to permit the town to establish a municipal buildings insurance fund by the Finance Director. FinCom?
600.
I move to approve Article 19.
It's been moved, and I'll second it.
Go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of, funds, $20,000 is deposited into a municipal buildings insurance fund. The Article 19 sets up the fund. Article 20 puts $25,000 into the fund. FinCom?
600.
I move to approve Article 20.
Second.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. Coming out of free cash? Coming out of free cash. It's been moved, seconded, all,
Aye.
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 Article 21, see if the town will vote to transfer from community housing reserve funds the sum of $90,000 and to transfer the sum of $30,000 from free cash for the total sum of $120,000 to purchase an emergency generator to provide electrical power during the outages in the 1910 building, the 17 elderly housing units of the Housing Authority at 379 Main Street, in the town annex by request of the Housing Authority and the Board of Selectmen. FinCom.
060.
Okay. I'll be taking motions, Mr. Anderson.
You want me to make the motion?
I don't know if you would
I
like.
move to remove Article 21.
Second.
It's been the motion is to remove Article 21 from the annual town meeting. It's been moved, it's been seconded. Would you like any discussion?
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Explanation. No, you can, I made the motion, so you do that.
You wanna talk? I mean, I can talk too, it doesn't matter.
I think that there's certainly a need for the Housing Authority to have an emergency generator. We have some elderly residents there, some medical equipment that needs electrical power, say oxygen, when the power goes out. However, this particular article, I think we need to look at it a little bit more. For example, if we're putting a generator large enough to power the annex, do we really want to do we need to do that? Or if we do need to do that, if the annex is going to be the town's emergency shelter, then I think we need to plan that and know that that's the case. Otherwise, we're really gilding the lily.
Okay. That and just the more we got into this, I think the more questions arose about a maintenance of it. There was going to be a cost of that. Who's going to take on the maintenance of it? Do we even need it in this building? Or could we use batteries? Could we use solar? There's a lot. But one thing I would like to ask, that we do take the commitment, though, tonight to try to really get all those questions answered and the nuts and bolts of it, and then and make some type of commitment, and we bring something back
For the fall.
For the fall. I mean, really get into it.
Yeah.
Because just every time, every meeting, we just seem to have more questions, and people in the audience gave us
We
more
get
questions.
there's
that we
always a
could-
new idea, yeah.
And questions on this thing, and we couldn't answer. So that's how we all stand. So the motion on the floor is to take this off. It's been moved, it's been seconded, we've had discussion. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 21 has been taken off. Article 20.
I have a question about Article 19, and I couldn't find the appropriate
Oh,
reference, so I waited.
got it. Would you like me to
Okay,
read it again?
No. I'd like to compare it to Article 9,
Correct?
which also establishes a fund.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute, it's not Article 9.
Article 9, to see if the town votes pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section B, to create a special purpose municipal stabilization fund.
And the motion to transfer funds is included in the same article. And in Article 19 and 20, they were separated, which has been your custom in the past. Is there a reason why in Article 9 you did
Michael.
not separate the two?
They can be separated. They're just the way they got
It's
that.
just that,
Can't,
Mike, is it correct either way?
You could do it either way. The motion could read with two matters to it. Someone could then ask to split the vote, and then you'll take a vote on accepting it and a vote on the money. So it can be legally done that way if you want to.
okay, so why don't we do it, it might be just a little bit clearer. So now, so we're going to push them out anyway, so why don't we separate them in the appropriate language like we did on 19 and 20?
Okay.
Does that fit everybody?
Sure.
Sure, if you
FinCon?
want to establish it, and you won't have to do, you didn't have to do it for the school educational special stabilization fund because you established that
We've
last
already
year.
established that, yep. Okay. Thank you. On to
Yeah,
20.
we could
Can I ask-
establish it and not fund it and then deal with it later. That's possible. That's one way.
Would there,
Yeah.
would there be a point of establishing it without?
Say it again?
Sorry.
Say that again, please?
Would there be a point of establishing the fund without actually funding it?
No, but you could. I mean, you could establish it just to get it, some people do things like that to get the word out for something, and then you could establish it the next year when you had money.
But if you're going to establish it, I mean, it just kind of makes sense to put money.
To put some,
Right.
some seed money, so to speak, into it.
So is it better to blend
Michael?
them?
The purpose of that is the statute says that the town has to accept the statute. So once you've accepted the statute, that's good for you know,
Perpetuity.
until you
Till you unaccept it.
till you unaccept it.
Mhm.
So the idea would be is you could accept something and then have it available for future funding if that's what your desire was.
Yep,
But if we put the money in it, we get a free toaster.
yep. And everybody likes a free toaster. Article 20, excuse me, for a speedy sakes, just to get this thing done here. Article 22, any questions? This is the CP
600.
Preservation Fund that we have. Any questions? You have any questions?
No.
Move to
The amounts
approve.
of it, it's been, what, you guys, 600?
Correct.
Okay, so I don't have to read all that. and-
Move to approve Article 22.
Yeah, okay, it's been moved, it's been seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 23, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds $10,000 for administrative costs for the Community Center Committee by request of the Community Center Committee and the Board of Selectmen. Any questions?
Yes, we were unaware of this.
Okay, what was your vote?
We did not vote, we had no information on it.
Okay. The Board of Selectmen have set up, have been meeting with the Council on Aging over the last year. We went to a luncheon, we've gone to meetings of theirs, we've had meetings with them, and there is a effort in a committee that's been set up that has met 3 times, and the next meeting is going to be on April 12th, it's been changed, a couple of times, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze, to look into a community center. That would be for an intergenerational community center for programs related to our seniors and to whomever, intergenerational, down to our kids. So we have people representing it from all walks of life in town. There's 9 people on the committee,
Including the high school.
including 2 high school individuals. We've done things up to this point of finding town-owned land. We've had a subcommittee looking out and establishing buildings in town and establishing their useful need for this committee and for this project and so forth and so on. So the hope of this committee would be come to the town in the next year or 2 with a proposal of an intergenerational community center that would service the whole town. And this is just administrative costs to get maybe some surveys done, have people do some administrative work, and have a 1 day a week, 2 day a week, a month person to do administrative work and pay them.
1 to 2 days per month?
Yeah, it doesn't, we only meet once a month. It's $10,000 for the whole year.
Could be 5.
It could be 5, but there could be some other things, it's just very new. So we met, we saw, we've had another subcommittee that's gone out and seen other intergenerational communities in Newburyport, Sudbury, Lincoln Sudbury, there's a few others, and come back and reported. So the hopes is to come with a plan, an engineered plan of a community center and put it before the town and see if they want one and see if they'll vote on it. Could be on, most likely be on already town-owned land.
Okay.
And this is kind of seed money to get that going. Mr. McGrath?
So we take it that $10,000 is to do planning for infrastructure additions to the town. Buildings.
Could be.
I don't think you've gotten that far, right?
No, we haven't gotten that far yet, but it could be used for that. The question, it could be used for plans, it could be used for surveys, it could be used for anything like that.
Have you ruled out all existing buildings in the town?
Yes. And we've even gone, we've taken it to a step of, I'm not going to say that, but yes. But even we've looked at St. Anne's Church, it's been pretty comprehensive of looking. St. Anne's Church has a separate building out there that has a good amount of space, and they were looking. So I would say the answer to that is yes, we have. Because when you come down to it, the only buildings in town for something like an intergenerational thing with land around it, we might have some fields, and we might, I mean, this isn't just going to be a building. It could be a community center like the one in Newburyport that hypothetically could have some basketball courts around it, could have a tennis court around it. So we're looking at a more comprehensive thing that it's just not going to be a building, but a community center, an intergenerational community center. So all the buildings that we presently have, you could hypothetically say the town hall, but you would have to retrofit that. We could say the annex, but then you would be taking that offline for all the things that are happening there, and then there isn't anything else that's big enough. And then we looked at St. Anne's Church, because, not St. Anne's, excuse me, the Episcopal Church. They have a building there that they were willing for us to look at. There was a subcommittee that looked at that, and it just wasn't, it would be not feasible.
How about the new school? We're putting money away for
I actually, that was one of my suggestions.
Newburyport, Newbury, they both have it attached to schools.
Yep, but we have, it makes it a little bit more complex because it's 3 towns. And the committee didn't think that, we tried to do that at one point, of trying to have a regional senior center, and it was going to be in Newbury, it was going to be in Merrimack, and that just didn't fly years ago. And we just thought that the hurdles were going to be too much trying to get something organized if they built a new high school in a limited space and then incorporating 2 other towns. And the committee, with the people on the committee, thought that they would like to try to pursue something on their own, as in for West Newbury.
Are you thinking of putting together a report, and will it also include ongoing cost? Are we going to be hiring people to run this? Will there be maintenance costs? Will there be insurance costs? Whatever it is, and it sounds like it's in early stages, but it would be nice if we were going to vote on it if we knew what all of the cost would be, as
You
opposed to
mean
little
voting on the
increments.
$10,000?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no. Will the
yes.
$10,000 get us a report that tells us what it's going to cost?
I doubt that. A few more monies would need to do that, because this is just kind of seed money to get us started, because we're kind of new at it. I don't see this even coming to the town for a couple of years. But yes, because, to give you an example, when the subcommittee that came back to report it to the full committee went to Newburyport, they had an exact breakdown of the architectural cost. If you want something like this, it would cost, the cost to build this building would be X amount of dollars per square foot. The operating cost would, when we bring this whole thing in front of the town, you're going to have exactly, if it's going to take 2.5 employees to run, and it's going to be open 7 days a week, and the insurance is going to be this, it's going to be exactly the cost of what costs to build, the cost to run, and everything.
Great.
And what it's going to do. Service. But you would have to. Jen?
I just want Selectmen to clarify something that I've been hearing about the committee, that the 2 employees that are on the committee have been informed by the Selectmen that they can't participate unless they do so with vacation time. Is that accurate?
No, not at all.
Because they said
That statement that you just said is not accurate. The Selectmen never told the 2 employees that are on that committee that the only way they can be on that committee is if they use vacation
So what
time.
was the letter that you sent them? What did it say?
That it was a volunteer committee. That it's a volunteer committee, and that...
I mean, because one of them is the director of the COA. I don't
who
know.
is an ad hoc position on there, and not a voting member, because she's not a resident of the town of West Newbury.
Right, but I would think that I recall you guys saying you wanted her on the committee.
Excuse me?
I don't think she would normally go on that committee. I don't want to speak for her, but she lives out of town, and
No, I think the people from the Council on Aging wanted her on the
Council on
committee.
Aging
That was
themselves
a
wanted
request
her
to
on
us,
it,
not
yeah.
by us.
I think the problem...
Do you not see value in having her on the committee as the director?
No. No, hold on. Would you like us to answer the first question? Because now that's a totally separate question about
Okay.
value. It seems to be that the committee has been meeting at 4:30 in the afternoon on Tuesdays. That happens to be the time that that person is scheduled to work until 6 o'clock.
Right.
So I know I'm on that committee. It's a conflict for me. It's too early in the day. Sometimes I can meet it, sometimes I can't. So it's a very simple thing that you just change the time of the committee.
Right.
It's a volunteer committee. Okay? There are a lot of town employees that are on committees or do things that are volunteer. So I think because
They give up their vacation time to be on?
I don't understand where you're getting the vacation
That's what I was
time.
told. That's why I'm bringing
Well,
it up to you.
I was
Not by
told
us.
yesterday that I was 123 pounds, but that's not true. I don't mean to be facetious, but that's why I wanted to be very, very straight. That we never told anybody that they had to use their vacation time to be on that committee.
We wouldn't say that.
We would never say that.
And you did ask about two employees, just to, the distinction between the two. The other one is a full-time salaried employee. The senior director is not, and the other employee is also a resident of town. Hence a voting member.
I think it's a very important, I think it's another thing too that people understand that the selectmen are doing their jobs by, when we put people on a voluntary committee, that we make sure that we do it in the right way, that in 10 years somebody doesn't put a labor claim against us, saying that, well, I served on a committee for X amount of times, because that was brought up too. So we made sure that we told them that it was a volunteer committee, and that's it. I don't understand what the problem is. At no time did we tell anybody. I think the problem, so what we should do is, I think the problem was that where you're getting, it's all assumptions. We never told anybody to do that. The committee fell under the time that one individual was working. So it's a very simple remedy. Let's change the time of the committee to actually a better time, so not in the day, during a working day.
Are you doing that?
I'm willing to bring that proposal up at our next meeting. So then it's very, very simple.
So then it might be likely that the Council on Aging Director could be on this committee that's planning an intergenerational community center for elders.
And if she doesn't want to volunteer for the committee outside of the hours, we would love, I would love, she could give any recommendations, or anybody, any citizen in this town can give any recommendations. And of course, if she wanted to give some recommendations and some so forth and so on how
okay, just so I'm clear, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but what you're saying is, because she's working during the time the committee meets, the town is not going to pay for her to attend those meetings. That's what you're saying.
I didn't say that.
Okay, so what are you saying then? Change it and have her volunteer.
No, you asked me, did the Board of Selectmen, we have two individuals, that they have to take vacation time if they want to be on that committee. The answer to that question, because that's what you were told, the answer to that question is no. We never said that.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure the employees understood it was a volunteer committee.
I don't think the employees understand what you're telling me now. I'm just telling you that. So I'll just pass that along to you.
That's fine. I don't think...
Both employees?
Both employees.
Really?
Okay, so it couldn't have been any clearer.
Nobody brought that forward to me.
Well, I just did.
Yeah, well, until now.
Okay. Well, the thing... Mr. McGrath?
You haven't voted on this one yet, have you?
Correct.
23, and it's open for discussion?
Sure.
Correct.
Yes. Well, I, for one FinCom member, would need to have a lot more information regarding the direction that the $10,000 would be used. You said several different things, and you also quoted somebody on the committee that saying a certain location was not feasible. So feasibility and program and intentions would need to be made clear to those that are being asked to recommend money or not, well in advance of anything about structures and design plans and that sort of thing, which you also alluded to. I'd like to understand better, not from you now, but what perhaps the other FinCom members would, of what the scope and concept and the plan would be, and then you get into architects, not start with architects. I'm
We're not starting with-
saying that a particular space is not feasible.
I think, John, one thing was, when Glenn said surveys, he's not talking about land surveys or anything. He's talking about surveys of the residents, for example, to see what people might even be interested in. So very preliminary stuff, not
This is totally right.
surveys of lands or creating blueprints or anything like that.
When
no.
somebody asks me a question, I can't say yes or no to something. This is seed money. It's 10. The concept is, there's a committee. There seems to be a want, and I don't even know if there is a need, to look into a multi-intergenerational community center for our citizens. And through the 3 meetings that we had, we realized, in annual town meetings coming up, that we might need some money, we might not, to try to get surveys of the town, maybe, you know, we're not really sure, but that's the concept. Some administrative costs, some mailings, so forth and so on. And that's what this money is for. But when you say, well, it may be on plans, it could be, you know what I mean? So I have to say yes to that. This is not enough money for any of that stuff. This is seed money to try to get a concept that has been given to us, mostly by the Council on Aging and by the Park and Recs Committee, to start. So that's it. And if you want and I'm going to be honest with you, if you want specifics, I can't give them to you. But I know there's going to be administrative, there's going to be trying to get something together, and it's going to take money to do that, so we can get us going.
This is
Madam Moderator?
This is a situation that I think would warrant some sort of a report before the article, to avoid having this kind of discussion on the floor of town meeting where
Which
there
we
aren't.
plan on doing.
Okay, so I think that might help you to explain the needs for this money.
Great idea.
Yep. Which is our intention.
Eliza?
If you do that as the putter together of the FinCom booklet, if you would let me have a copy to put in the appendix, that would be really helpful.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Not going to happen.
We only
Okay.
meet once a month, and we're supposed to have a meeting tomorrow, it's canceled. We're supposed to have a meeting on Thursday, it's canceled. So now, we're supposed to have one on the 5th of April, it's canceled. Now we're having one, this was all happened today. We were hoping for that, but it's not going to happen because we can't get everybody. I don't know if it's the time that people are working, we can't work, and so that's going to be a discussion on the 12th.
I think it should be, I don't know how we feel pro or con against this, the whole idea of the community center, but this was not something that was, but I'm in favor of getting information about it, absolutely. This was brought to us by several different groups that wanted to see how the selectmen could address this issue. So we're responding to requests from the town.
Yeah, primarily council.
And this was the first committee that we had to, in a long time, that we had to tell people they couldn't be on it. A ton came forward. Generally, we were scraping in for people.
We know.
Okay.
So the requests are actually coming from townspeople as opposed to?
Yeah, this wasn't from us. This wasn't generated from us. This was probably over a year of people coming to us. We sat down with the Council on Aging, was one of them. The Park and Recs is on this. We have somebody from the library, because the library wanted to get involved, so she asked to be it because there could be something there.
Any resident need, a driven need?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a ton. We have, yeah.
So I move to approve Article 23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article,
24?
24,
Yes, free cash.
free cash. You want me to read it? It's the one, you want me to read the whole thing?
No.
Okay. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22, which section authorizes the town to grant the exemptions available pursuant to Mass General Law C 59, Section 5, Clause 22A through F, to otherwise eligible persons who have resided in the Commonwealth for 1 year prior to the date of filing for their exemptions pursuant to the applicable clause. to be effective for the exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2016. This acceptance will reduce the residency requirements for veterans who are not domiciled in Massachusetts 6 months before entering the service, for 5 years to 1 year before application by the request of the Board of Assessors. So this brings down the domicile thing from 5 to 1.
Casey?
From my point of view, this is completely unclear.
You think?
What are they being exempted from?
See if town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General, which the section authorizes the town to grant the exemptions available. So there has to be some new exemptions that are available from Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22, A to F, to otherwise eligible persons who reside in the Commonwealth. So Mass General Law must pass that law, and then we have to accept those exemptions within that law to be able to give the relief to the veterans from 5 years to 1 year.
No, we have already given the exemptions
From what?
from to real estate taxes.
Real estate tax.
From real estate taxes. And it's exemption.
They're in those laws. I'm sorry. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
from the real estate tax.
Okay, so that answered the question. We don't have to go on, so we can move on. Okay, FinCom,
600.
I move to approve Article 24.
moved and seconded by Archie.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait, discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did the FinCom get any feedback from the assessors on whether this was going to be a big financial item or not going to cost anything or hardly or what?
No, we did not.
Okay.
That any more administrative fees because of this, like that other one that we passed, and then we had to say no to it?
No. No.
Okay.
It
It's
just
the same
doesn't-
exemptions, but it just changes the year from 5 to 1, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a typo there. The July 1
estate
is
tax.
not a 1.
Article 20,
Okay.
are you all set?
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been 300. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 37A, which section authorizes the town to grant an exemption in the amount of $500 to a blind person who is a legal resident, to be effective for exemptions granted for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2016. This would replace the exemption granted in Mass General Law, Section 59, Section 5, Clause 37. Hello?
Same question. I think it would be helpful if somewhere in both of these articles, it mentioned that these were exemptions from real estate taxes. People just reading these articles
Well,
Right, they're not
don't necessarily
100%.
remember
They're
when
not
we...
100% exemption. It's
yeah, so why don't
Yeah,
you...
but what they're exempt from, I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
exempt from, are they exempt from dog licenses, are they exempt from excise tax? They're exempt from real estate tax. So my recommendation would be if the FinCom could they could put that in their rationale, and when they're talking about it, they could tell the people that these are exemptions from real estate tax.
And we could also put that in the, we could put that after exemptions in Article 24 and 25 from real estate taxes.
Sounds good to me.
That's a good idea.
okay.
Yes,
Okay, you make that note, Mike? Who's making that note?
I'll make the note.
Okay. Bylaws, 26, to see if the town will vote to amend the town of West Newbury's bylaw by adding section 38. This new section is a demolition delay bylaw entitled the Preservation of Historically Significant Buildings. The purpose of this, the purpose of this proposed bylaw would be to provide a delay to insurance of demolition permits for historically significant buildings over 100 years old. We'll take care of the other action pursuant thereto. So did you guys get the changes that, the Historical Commission sent on March 25th to us?
Friday. They were wording.
Attaches the final draft of the proposed
minor-
demolition bylaw. The Historical Commission met this evening and made a number of minor changes that are administrative in nature.
No, we did not receive those.
Okay. They don't change the meaning, they're kind of just word edits, which Chris will share with you.
Number one, the word applicant demolition permit means building permit perfectly preserved. Under definition of significant building, the word city was deleted. On page 3 is the first full paragraph below. That's
Stuff like
basically
that.
stuff like that.
Did you vote?
Did you guys
We
vote
did.
on this?
051,
0, so 5 against and 1 abstaining.
correct.
Okay.
The rationale?
It was a general discomfort with it and the clarity of it and what it was going to mean. We felt that just every time we talked about it, it just kept getting more and more convoluted.
So
Um,
the concept maybe. Yep. Oh, I thought she stopped. She stopped talking.
So I can read the notes from our,
Sure.
from our conversation upstairs, that there was a concern about the ways that this could burden the landowner and could cause.
Can you talk a little louder, please?
Yep, there was a concern about the burden for the landowner and potential litigation, the lack of involvement from the building inspector and his view on it, and the potential that the town would end up funding any restoration costs if the historical commission were to kind of put their hold on something. How much would the town be liable to solve those issues?
The comments that we got was that this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we asked similar questions, and all the people on the historical commission were quite adamant that this was simply a slow-down procedure, and if the owner decides they want to tear it down after waiting the requisite number of days, there was no accommodation necessary whatsoever, and there was no, there'd be no, yeah, and there'd be no financial burden on the town whatsoever. It was simply, maybe we can give you some new information and you might change your mind a little bit, or we might just give you some info, but there was no onus on the town financially, as far as the way I understood it.
My
What
thought
about?
was that the CPC would have some role at that point.
No, absolutely not.
We didn't hear
Potentially
that.
could have
Oh.
some role if a homeowner is advised by the historical commission that their
But that could happen
recommendation
without
is
this
to do a
bylaw.
particular project, the homeowner at that point could then petition the CPC for funds to do that project.
Well, that can happen now. You know that,
Yep.
without this bylaw.
Yep.
And which has happened in town, where people with barns have come forward. Anybody can come forward to the CPC if they fit the guidelines.
Yep.
Okay. When do you need to know our vote?
Today.
When you go into print?
Yeah.
About 2 weeks before the town meeting, we want to get it out, and it'll take a day or two to put it together, so.
So April 8th.
Hmm?
April 8th. It gives us,
I'm going to make a motion that it's will of the town, and we don't take a
I was going to vote no,
okay?
but I was also in favor of keeping it on the article, on the warrant.
Uh-huh. I'm 50-50, because I see the importance of it, but maybe this is one like the generator that we need to move slowly on it, and maybe really work
Well, I think,
on this.
I agree that I think it's the will of the town. I think I kind of just said that in different words, but I also think it's important to, as the town leaders, that we take a position, personally.
John? Mr. McGrath?
There was, in the discussion, if I could characterize it, correct me, co-members, if I've got it wrong, that there was a large sense of sympathy and understanding for the concept, and that I don't remember anybody speaking down on the notion of what the philosophy was. However, in reading it, and I've read it a number of times, it's convoluted and it's difficult to process. And I understand there's a deadline on it and that's in. but I mentioned some when we were with that committee at a meeting here a couple of weeks ago, that there were consequences that weren't imagined about estates being settled, a fire burned down and leaves a great barn behind it, the property, and so it affects the salableness of some property in some time for a period of time. And so that makes it quite complicated, and we were reassured at that time by the proposers of it that, oh, we don't intend it to do that, or we wouldn't want it to do that, or we wouldn't do that to people. And there was, but of course, then, well, but this is for 50 and 100 years. The people who are conceiving it today aren't going to be the arbiters of it later. And then there was a number of questions about where do you draw the line if I want to take out one wall and put a wing on my building and it becomes visible from the street and thus changes the character of the house. That wasn't at all clear within the text of the document as to how those sorts of things be handled. So just to summarize, great concept. Perhaps this isn't the document that makes it a workable regulation.
My only comment was this was a document that was pretty much taken from working documents from other communities already. So it wasn't like they created from scratch. Most of the verbiage came from the Mass Historical Commission and several. They probably showed you the map. Lots of towns in eastern Massachusetts have used this document. I thought there was some vague areas myself, but it does seem to be working in other places.
I think they were very clear, actually. I don't think there was any ambiguity at all. That if somebody wanted to tear down a building, no matter what happened to it, this would apply. So if your house burnt down and you want to sell the lot, but your barn was over 100 years old, that you had to go through this process. Even if the person that, just say your house burnt down and you want to sell the lot, and the person wants to tear everything down and put a house up there, I thought it was very clear that
But it's not the, I'm sorry,
it's
it's not
about,
the seller who has to go through it, it's the buyer.
Right. And I
no,
think,
it's the seller.
no, it's the person that owns it. They can buy it, and they have.
Oh, yeah, no, they can, okay, yeah, they can buy, no, it's ever who owns it. So let's not, okay, let's not.
Buying and selling is irrelevant.
Yeah, buying and selling is irrelevant. Whoever owns the piece of,
Down and the barn is gonna be sold. The person is not gonna be held up selling his barn for this.
Right.
no, hold on for 1 second, hold on for 1 second, please, so we don't get misinformation. Okay, I was just using that example. Any building that needs to be demolished, any building that an individual goes to the building inspector and gets a demolition permit, and the building or structure is over 100 years old, has to go through this, no matter what it is. So hypothetically, if your house burns down and you say, you know what, I've had enough, I'm moving to Florida, and then I come along and buy your home, and then
You have to get it, not me.
and I buy your home, and I say, your burnt out home in your barn that sits out in the back, and I say, okay, thank you, have a good time in Florida, and then I look at it and say, you know what, I don't want to rebuild this home on this footprint. I want to tear everything down because I want to put my house back there because it's beautiful, I get better views back there, and I need to tear down that barn to do that. They would have to go through this process because now I own it, not you.
You're not saying anything different than what I was saying.
Yep.
I'm saying that doesn't affect the saleability of that property to you. When you will sell that property, if you
Yeah.
haven't done anything with the barn,
Yep, I can sell it.
you can sell it.
Yeah, and then the question came.
Saleability issue.
Yeah, then the question came up. Well, do you need to disclose that to the buyer?
Right, that did come up.
That
was
did
not
come
an
up. No,
issue. Legally.
well, that's not our position.
Not your job.
Because legally, the town doesn't legally have to tell someone who's buying a home in this town all the bylaws that exist in this town before they buy it.
So
That's
all
not
I'm
our,
saying is
that's
that
not our due diligence.
Saleability, I have
Yeah.
reason not to pass the bylaw.
Yep.
I mean, it's just the same as, well, you don't have to disclose all the electrical, no, electrical problems, but I mean, you don't have to discuss what the electrical inspector is going, whether you need a GFI in that thing. You don't have to disclose that when you sell your house. It's just part of the,
The due diligence that the
Yeah.
buyer has to do when
Yeah.
they're buying a home. So,
And contractors know what towns have demo delay bylaws. John brought up another point on some vagueness of different parts. It says, it talks about the dismantling or destruction or commencing the work of total or substantial destruction with the intent of completing the same. What is substantial destruction? Yes.
okay. Now, can we have a discussion about this? And then you have the people in town say, I don't want anybody telling me what I can do with my land. I mean, so there's that concept. So, should we save it from itself? And you know what I mean? Save it from itself and take it off and tell them that the concept is good, but if we fight this fight at town meeting, that a future one that could be in favor of everybody, that clears up all the ambiguity, has a better way of passing rather than fighting this fight now and then getting a bad taste in everybody's mouth and then it never getting passed, something that I think has some merit to it. You understand what I mean by that?
yeah. I mean, I like the concept, but I have some problems.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to take it off the, thing.
Second.
Because I like the concept, and I don't want to fight the fight and it never happen again. I want something like this to happen, but I want it to be, I want the FinCom to be on board. I want us to be on board. I want everybody to stand up and go, okay, I got it. Even, the people in the back room that have the shelters in the ground, you know what I mean? They have the back rooms that have the shelters, and then that they don't touch my land. I want them to be happy too.
Second.
The preppers.
It's been moved and it's been seconded to take it off, and to have a commitment to work with the historical commission to have something come forward at our next town meeting.
Second.
Yep. It's been moved, it's been seconded, whatever, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll try to move through this quickly, but...
It's a shame, too, because there was one sentence that had some great alliteration in it. It had like not 10 Ps in the same sentence.
Give me those for Scrabble. Article 27, determine whether the town of West Newbury will vote to approve the Whittier Regional Voc-Tech District Committee's vote on February 10, 2016 to establish a stabilization fund pursuant to Section 16G.5 of Chapter 71 of the Massachusetts General Laws. Said stabilization fund is to be invested in to retain its own interest earnings as provided by law, and further set up an operational line item to be created to transfer available monies into said stabilization fund or take other action relative thereto by request of the Whittier Regional Tech High School and the Board of Selectmen.
To establish a stabilization fund, what kind of vote do they need of the member communities?
2/3?
I'd take a look at the statute before I give you the answer.
It's 2/3 to put money in or take money out.
And what about the
Establish.
Stabilization
What about to establish one?
fund. To establish a stabilization fund.
You'll have that information for us so we know, it is what
Look
it
at
is.
the- look
It
at the
is what it
statute.
is, and you'll have that proper information for us at town meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, and what if we don't vote on it? Does it happen anyway? Is it so many towns, or is it,
We'll
is this?
be outvoted anyway.
Yeah, does it have to be unanimous?
Well, that
or
was kind of my question.
Yeah, does it have to be unanimous? Do you know?
All should be explained in the statute.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, do you have any other questions on the annual town meeting?
Wait a minute,
You want to vote on this? I can't vote on it until we get,
did they vote on it?
We did, we voted in favor of it, 6-0.
600?
okay,
Yeah, I would agree with delaying our vote.
until we find out.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Special. Article 1, just to hear upon act committees, simple. 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $5,267.07 from free cash to pay the following outstanding bills. We understand that? Yep.
FinCom hasn't gone through special yet?
Yes, sir? Microphone, please.
In order to clarify the lines, that you strike, in each line, strike the word pay and insert reimburse, and strike the words from and insert for. These are bills the Housing Authority has already paid, but due to the shared cost of certain
Between us and you guys.
utilities, the town reimburses the Housing Authority. These were from a previous year and were failed to have been billed to the town.
Okay.
So it's a reimbursement for the town's portion.
Bert, what year are these then? Are they this fiscal year or previous fiscal year?
Yeah, 14 and 15.
Do we have any special votes for
Yeah.
years that far?
Not spent. Last year, we had one of these, and it was a simple majority.
Yep, okay.
And
But
additionally,
this wasn't necessarily appropriated.
it was part of the Gary's,
The money was in the budget.
Oh, okay.
Gary's
In the-
fund.
in the right
Uh,
year?
uh,
The money was appropriated originally for this. The bills just never got over here to be properly processed.
It wasn't appropriated for that specific reason, it was appropriated for a bunch of things. If they give us the bill,
There was funds in the
I know.
appropriate account at the time.
we could have paid it last year if we had the bill.
That's what I was just saying. The money was appropriated in the line item to pay the bill. We just never got the bill in time, so you couldn't pay, so now we have to do it. So it's a simple
majority.
minor. Thank you.
Just
You want us to go through them real quick so you know our stand, or would you rather utilize that time that you guys talk yourselves? Because this is the only time you're gonna get for us to tell you how we voted for your book.
We'll stay.
Okay. Article 3, okay, this one is, make a motion on Article 2.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 300. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer the $30,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund account to purchase and repair valves, hydrants, water main, meter pits, and other devices that are associated with the water distribution system. Oh, I'm sorry. So, like Pavlov's dog, I stop, I look up.
I move to approve Article 3.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So-
Article 4?
Can I just say, did you just say before, I didn't hear you, did you guys vote all these or no?
No, they haven't
have
voted
not.
any of them.
Okay, got you. I missed that.
Okay, number 4 for 42 for stumps, trees, roads, hilltop circle, Break Hill standpipe.
Move to approve Article 4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To see if the town of 5 transfer sum $40,000 for the Water Enterprise Fund, free cash account to purchase water from the city of Newburyport.
Move to approve Article 5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 16, to see if the town transfer from available funds the $173,365.98 to pay the outstanding remaining balance on the lease for the truck.
Move to approve Article 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You know how much, you have all the rationale for that, so you can vote on it? Okay. See if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $39,950 to purchase a four-wheel drive F-250 pickup truck with plow or comparable vehicle for the Department of Public Works.
Move to approve Article 7.
Second.
Is this replacing anything? I'd like to have in the article what it's replacing, and that it's going to be
Best interest of the town.
best interest of the town by the Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
Okay? Whatever it's replacing, have that in the line item.
6 and 7 free cash?
6 and 7, 6 is free cash, yes. And thank you. And 7 is free cash, thank you. Okay, Article I, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $56,307 to purchase a four-wheel drive F-350 dump truck with plow or comparable vehicle. Is this replacing something? And same thing, and this is coming from free cash?
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye. So
Aye.
this is the same thing. I want whatever it's very specific of what it's replacing, and it's going to be by the best interest of the town by the Board of Selectmen. And the reason why we're doing that, being very specific on that FinCom, is we've noticed that Michael, we put some on these auctions, like we got for the Council on Aging van. We got like $5,000 or $6,000 more because he did it that way than having it just a trade-in. We just don't want to, okay, we're going to trade it in. We want to have Michael take the lead on it and get as much money as we can for the town. That's why I'm being specific about that. Number 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $30,000 for the repairs of the exterior trim.
Move to approve.
Second.
Yep.
Is missing 2 in there?
Repairs the, yeah,
Yes,
repairs to the. Thank you.
You got that?
And this is coming from free cash? Was there any interest in getting CPA money for this? The question will come up because we've spent all the other CP money. No?
It's possible.
No.
Good, it's-
No, I'm not saying we could. I asked if it was thought about. Well, no. Just you'd rather do it this way. Okay. There's been a motion. Archie, did you second it?
We did, yeah. I
Okay.
did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds the sum of $100,000 for the repairs, renovation, and maintenance of the Page School, the Children's Castle, and other town buildings. You have any backup on this, guys? My question, why, is there any specific projects this is going to handle, or this is just a routine maintenance?
General maintenance.
It's just an account, having an article, it doesn't expire to work off of the next 2 or 3 years. We got a few things, we got the roof things I gotta pay, I got the sidewalk, there's all kinds of things we gotta do now. And there's always something coming up. I'm just gonna be out of money before the end of the year in that account.
And that account, is that account being funded by the lease payments by the Children's Council theoretically, or is that another account? Because that was always a theory that we're taking the Children's Castle lease, which is around $100,000 or around there, 89, more than 100, over 100, and we've been putting that back into the maintenance of the buildings for that building kind of almost to pay itself.
Right, keep in mind that years ago, that money was in some sort of account which I could draw off as we needed, and I haven't had that for the last 5 or 6 years. We
Well,
did,
yeah.
we did an article before, and I'm out of it, I need another article to keep going down the
Right,
road.
because that money goes into the general fund, right?
Right.
Can we set up a one of these funds, or is it a pain in the
So
neck?
we tried that,
We had that.
Right, they made us.
not do
They
it.
made us not do it?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds of $150,000 for the repair maintenance of the town roads.
I've actually come full circle on this. As I had stated in past meetings, when you add the line items together from different places, the Chapter 90 money, the article money, it's a $67,000 increase in aggregate, but I'm actually in favor of it. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on the roads, crack sealing, guardrails, so I think we can have further discussion on specific priorities with Gary after town meeting, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, so do I. And Gary has come and said that he was going to work with Merrimack Valley, and they were going to try to do a comprehensive study of our guardrails and so forth and so on in town.
Good.
And we're going to take a little bit of this money and start getting that done after that program's done, and then in future years start putting money towards specifically to that.
Good. Move to approve Article 11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Free
Aye.
cash.
Do we have any ballpark number on the snow and ice?
Is
Or-
there a snow and ice deficit?
What's that?
Is there a snow and ice?
There can't be a snow and ice deficit.
We should, no, unless we get an April Fool's storm and get 3 foot snow.
When do we have to post this?
But we don't have one as of yet.
No, we still, I still.
It's gonna be 70 in a couple.
How much?
After all the bills come in paid, I'll still have 25, 30,000.
Okay, good. To see if the town will vote to transfer from Community Preservation Act funds the sum of $11,000 for digital imaging of historical reports and records. Said sum to be taken from the CPC unrestricted fund balance reserve or take any other action relative thereto.
Move
This
to
is a
approve.
request from the town clerk.
Move to
Second.
approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 14, to see if the town will vote to transfer from Community Preservation Act Fund sum of $15,000 for walkways, renovations, site restoration, and improvements to enhance ADA access at GAR Memorial Library. Said sum to be taken from the CPCA unrestricted fund balance reserve or take any other action relative thereto.
I know you guys didn't vote, but did you have any comments on that article? No. Move to approve Article 14.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 15, to see if the town will vote to transfer from Community Preservation Act funds the sum of $25,000 for preservation and rehabilitation of the Action Cove Playground facility. Said sum to be taken from the CPA Open Space and Recreation Reserve or take any other action relative thereto.
Move to approve.
Second.
I don't know anything about this.
Neither do I, actually.
Would you like to speak about this, Mr. Bertino, or no? This is the $25,000 for Action Cove. If I'm not mistaken, it's in dire need of money.
Yes,
Without a doubt, it's the proper use of CPA money. But there was some talk that we're hopefully not putting good money into bad.
Really?
So are we talking about the playground, or what are we talking about here?
The playground.
The equipment or what?
they have a,
Everything.
yeah, they have a carpenter that's gonna set up a 3-year plan, and they're gonna try to, restore it
Restore it, renovate it.
over 3 years.
Mass General Law requires a certain amount of mulch now and so forth, the inches on all playground areas, surfaces. That was done how many years
We did
ago?
that relatively recently.
Yeah, 5 years ago. Needs to be done again?
Yeah, it needs some work. It definitely needs some work.
It's a,
$25,000 sounds like a lot of mulch.
well, no, Ian, no. It's the structure too, Archie. You have a big facility out there that started 20-something years ago by volunteers and donations, and that's had probably only one big retrofit and money dump into it a while ago by resurfacing it and stuff like that. And it needs, like anything, like a building, it needs to be worked on.
How did this number get arrived at?
They have a plan. This is a 3-year plan. The first year is $25,000. They have a 3-year plan of $75,000, if I'm not mistaken. Gary?
Yes, about 7, 8, 9 years ago, it had the same issues, probably even worse. So we actually hired the engineer, the person that actually designed the playground and did it. We had him come out, we put him up for a couple of days in a hotel. He went over the playground, went all over it, came up with a plan to repair whatever we needed to do to repair and replace everything over there, and then we executed that after. That was like, 7, 8, 10 years ago.
That's when we put the new decking on, stuff like that.
Actually, some of that was put on later, and every year, just about, we have to put new wood chips down in different spots because it gets wore out. The kids take it away, and there's always been maintenance. It isn't like it's been neglected. We're over there all the time. There's always nails coming up. There's splinters. There's bees. There's all kinds of things, issues over there. So. And keep in mind that was the 25 just for one. They got a $75,000 3-year plan to do that. And I had questioned it the first time. We were going to. I went to a playground seminar, and those were Leathers playgrounds put in. They've been sort of declared, a big hazard for playgrounds in the state. And I had plans to take that out and add all new stuff, and it didn't go over well with the people, and they all banded together, and we ended up, that's why we still have what we have there, so we salvaged at that time.
It would probably be a couple of $100,000 to try to recreate what we have over there. If I wasn't, it wasn't cheap.
Well, it depends on how you do it. If you're doing it with volunteer help and like you built that one, probably not. But if you hired an architect and engineer, yeah, you can, sky's the limit. Yeah.
Mr. McGrath?
I believe there are state or other agencies that inspect and certify. And as I recall, the last time on the overhaul, whether it was Leathers alone, which was the original design firm, or there was a state agency, Gary might remember, that did a critique of it. So there was a work list because it is a potential liability situation, so it's only reasonable to get some kind of certificate out of your up-to-date, but it would help you get the scope of the project understood in advance.
Do you guys have any backup?
The information we have is the same that Gary just shared. It's a 3-year plan, 25,000. There was a comparison, looked at Newburyport and Georgetown. Both cost over 160,000 for their playgrounds. So our choice, I guess, is to rebuild or maintain.
Okay. Make a motion to approve Article 15.
Second.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Dude, we want to talk about the line item budget?
You guys want to talk about line item budget? You said if anybody had any questions, we'll talk about it. If not,
There is. We had one question on the SRO, and if the selectmen would consider separating that expense,
Separating,
What?
just the cost of the SRO for the police department into its own line,
and the rationale is?
to make it identifiable and to separate it out of the budget, so if it didn't come to fruition, that the funds couldn't be used for other wage.
I don't have a problem with that. Well, and I might add too, the budget that town meeting votes on is the finance committee budget.
okay, so let's talk about this for 1 second. So hypothetically, not hypothetically, we're adding a police officer for the reason of being an SRO /
Midnight officer.
midnight officer. And that's the only reason. If that proposal wasn't put forth to us, we would not be adding a full-time position. Correct?
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think? Right? Yeah, so, yeah, I think that's an excellent idea, because we are in agreement with the proposal from the chief, and it's for a specific reason, and it should state that specific reason. So if for some crazy reason, in 3 years, it doesn't work, then it just gets melted into the, police salary account, and the whole intention of adding that could be lost.
Yes.
So I think that's a smart idea, and it's being as transparent as you possibly can to the taxpayers, because if we need another full-time officer, it should be brought to the taxpayers as that, not be melted in if it doesn't work. So I would actually thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, I concur. Mike, what lines would that be that would affect that would need to be separated?
I would just take out,
Obviously, police salary and wages,
right, and that would be the,
only one.
that would be the only one, because the benefits and
Okay, fine.
and everything else, you wouldn't,
You can't
come out of the police, yeah.
Did,
Okay.
Finance Committee have any other?
Anything else? Do we want to, I'd like to let's make a motion on that, please, just so that it's good it's for the record. Under Public Safety, Police Department, number 14, that the proposal of an SRO that we make a separate line item for salary and wages for that position.
Second.
It's been seconded in discussion, and that amount would be determined, we saw amounts around $78,000.
Well, that's the full amount.
Yeah, but so what I was gonna say, that amount needs to be determined by Mike B.
Less than that, yeah.
And I would, you know, it's gonna be a little bit less than that, but yeah. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. 300.
On the same budget, do we want to address the correspondence we had from the chief?
Yes.
Yep. I'm sorry, did you have, 1 second, did you have a question on that particular thing?
No, I have a question about another item.
Okay. I won't pick on you, but I'll pick.
Okay. Want me to read this?
Sure.
Okay, we got some correspondence from the chief today, Chief Reed, and I'll read it quick. I'm asking the Board of Selectmen to rebalance the 2017 fiscal year budget to help me better operate the police department and so forth. I've reviewed the last few years and found the overtime budget was cut by an average of $10,000 each. Basically, without changing the total budget for the police department, he would like to lower the expenses line item by $15K and increase the overtime budget by the same amount.
So it wasn't 100% clear to me. Was he talking about police, dispatch, or both? I presumed it was police, but I don't think,
that's a good point.
but that wasn't really explicit.
Geez, I thought he was specifically talking about police, but you make a good point. I don't know that.
In the last line, asked for a reserve fund transfer, which he's asking us for. He doesn't ask us for that, he asks them for that.
Right.
I'm also requesting a fiscal year, a reserve balance to be transferred to meet current needs for mandatory training, holidays, court, education day. So do you know what he means by that? I don't think, is he looking, his words aren't what we use.
Is that for police or?
The last
Yeah.
one is also requesting a fiscal year reserve balance of, you mean a reserve fund transfer of $10,000?
Yeah, he's basically telling you he put in a reserve transfer request.
For this
To you
year.
guys.
Right, I have him here, but we were,
Okay, I just want to make sure he wasn't asking us.
No,
And he's supposed to be asking you guys. Okay,
Right.
good.
That's a separate issue, yeah.
That's a separate issue. So now what was your questions, Archie?
Well, basically, he wants to increase the overtime, which I've had a problem with over the last few years, that we've added an officer, and now we'd be adding a second officer, which would hopefully be taking a little bit more of the overtime burden off the department, especially in the summer. There's some holidays in the summer, and instead, he wants to increase the overtime budget. So I have a little problem with that.
And I agree, because when we added the last full-time officer, we were led to believe that in time, not right away, because there's training, but in time, that would have an impact on overtime, and it seems to have had the opposite.
It always seems to be the rationale.
I mean, that's what I was told specifically, because I was very concerned about it, and, well, it'll eventually happen, but there's a lot of training in the beginning. Well, it hasn't helped yet.
So I'm going to make a motion that we decline that request. And so we wanted you to be aware of it, but I'm going to make a motion to decline it, because every time we get a new officer, part of the rationale is that one of the benefits of hiring a full-time officer is they're going to be able to cut down on our overtime. And it doesn't, and that's the reason why in that particular request, it shows that we've actually asked to reduce that the last 2 fiscal years. So I'm going to make a motion that we decline that request.
Before we,
Well, let's see what,
can I ask Mike to
Yeah.
kind of elaborate on?
yeah, there's only essentially $968 left in the overtime line item
For this year.
for this year.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
but
for
why-
what reason? Why? Give us a rationale behind that.
It's mostly filling shifts and training. There's not a whole lot of overtime that goes to extending someone's day because of an arrest and paperwork. You know, when you have a department like that and you run 24/7, And, you know, we lowered it last year 10 grand, and probably from the years past, it's not gonna go lower, I'll tell you that. It's actually only gonna go higher when, especially when you magnify the officers who are taking the shifts. When they're taking them, it's gonna be more in overtime.
Well, if you look at 14, we had overtime of 39,181. 50, these are actuals, not proposed. 15, we had 47,552. I don't understand how it can go up so much. When we add people, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it
You know,
could
you
be
have
you're
a
adding
staff
people
in-
and you're adding shifts. I mean, how many shifts? Are we adding, I mean, we have to and then ask the next question. Are we adding more shifts? So are we trying to fill more shifts than we previously had the year before? Hypothetically, if we only had 12 shifts, but now we add a new, now we'd like to have 14 shifts now. You know, I'm just using the numbers. I'm not using, they're not going to correspond with days of the week. So are we filling the same number of shifts each year?
I would hope so, but.
I would think so, but we
Yeah.
might not be. We've never asked that question. They could have increased the shifts.
But you're also increasing your
The money?
your mandatory training. You have a more senior staff here, so there's more vacation time. That's the stuff when,
So then
when an
I
officer
would-
goes away, if you can't get somebody to fill his shift.
Then I would like to see a training line item rather than, and then that would incorporate the cost of the training and the overtime that is pursuant to that. So I would like to see a training thing so we have a better breakdown of exactly, when everybody says, oh, training, we can't fill shifts, we don't know, but we need another officer to cut down on the overtime, and then the overtime's gone up by 12 grand. So it's one or the other. So then we need to, so we've listened and got new officers to cut down on overtime, and overtime's gone up. So what we need to do then, because when I bang my hand and it hurts, I stop banging my hand. So we need to stop increasing officers because we're told the overtime's going to go down and it's going up. So if we stop increasing overtime, maybe the reverse will happen. I'm being, I'm being facetious, but come on.
I mean, if there's only $900 left in the account, that means that 34,000 has already been spent
Yeah,
through.
so they're at 45 for this year.
So they're at 45 for this
They'll be
year.
at
Yeah,
45 for
exactly.
next year.
If he needs 10 more, yeah.
I think we need to have a discussion with the chief about overtime.
How it's being
at some
spent,
future
why it's being spent. Was this an abnormal year?
Well, it's gonna be in line with 2015, and your wages are
Right.
higher now than
The
they
wages,
were.
because contractually, your wages go up.
But 15, we were training a new officer. That was the theory. And
yeah.
they were at the academy and so forth, and once that was all straightened out, it would be better.
I think I honestly, for me, it's not that I'm against it. It's just, it seems like we're being told different things, so we have to have a good understanding of it. So, you know what I mean? One thing's happening, and then the other, that's it.
Just to clear, just for the record, when you say you've been told this, you're talking about by the previous chief, not by this chief, right?
That's correct.
By the previous chief, yes. And that was one of the rationales for adding an additional
It
officer.
always was,
Yeah.
since I've been on the Selectmen board. That's always been
That's all.
one of the rationales, not all of them, but one of the rationales is, hey, the reason why we have high overtime is because we don't have enough officers to fill. We have reserve officers. They're not always reliable. So I have to fill the shifts because we need to have protection. And if I have to fill them with full-time officers, I have to pay them,
I just don't
overtime.
want to say you're saying something that the chief told you that didn't say that.
Absolutely not. This is not Chief
We
Reed.
we have a different chief, so we need to have that conversation over again.
Yep. So,
What do we want
how
to do?
much, can I ask a question about the reserve fund transfer? Has anybody come to you guys yet on the reserve fund transfer this year?
I have it in my hand. We were tackling the annual town meeting warrant, so I brought it up with me, but we didn't think it was more important to get through the warrant
I would agree with that.
than to bog them down.
So there is a lot this year? Is there a lot this year?
A lot of what?
Reserve fund transfers?
No.
So what I'm saying is just keep
No.
the reserve fund transfer the way it is. and don't increase the overtime for next year, and let's have a discussion during the course of the year with a new chief, with a new policies and new whatever, and if he has the same problems that he has this year, because he's just taking over, right, give him a full year, that will make a reserve fund transfer next year, and then he has a full year under his belt, and to make the proper recommendations to us.
And/or we could
Right.
also make the same change in the fall.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have to say, if there's only $900
Oh, no,
left,
you're gonna get into a question.
they're not gonna have enough money.
That wasn't the question, that wasn't what I said.
Oh,
You guys are the ones that have to do the reserve fund transfer.
right.
That's not us. You do what you want to do over there.
Right.
But I'm saying that we denied his request for
Rebalance.
of increasing his overtime account this year. And if he falls into the same problem that he has this year that was inherited, next year, we make a reserve fund transfer to cover that next year, and then we have a full year.
Or make,
Yep.
or make the change in the fall.
Remember, the finance committee has another question on line item budget.
What's that?
Yeah, but we have to, okay, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to deny that request.
How do you feel?
for the moment, I don't want to, I want to
think we
deny
need-
it too.
I think we need to talk to him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, but we talk to him, but it doesn't really matter. Let him get a year under his belt. So if he really needs it next year, this time, he'll go to the finance committee and get a $10,000 thing, and then at least has a year under his belt, and next year's budget, he'll say, you know what, guys, this is my rationale. Now I have a year under my belt, and this is what I really need or what I really don't need.
But by the same token, he is offering to not increase the total budget, but if he's asking for a reserve fund transfer next year for 10 grand, you're increasing it by 10. If you do it the way he wants it,
That's a good point, actually.
but if you do it the way he wants it, we're saving 10
He's
grand.
taking out of what, again? I don't have it, I gave it to you.
In other words, he's
I know,
not
but
increasing the
he's moving
total
the
budget.
lines. So
He's
what
gonna
the-
cut expenses for the same amount that he increases the overtime. He's offering that, so we're actually, so that, right, that might be in a deficit.
Okay, what's your question?
I'll make this quick. I just was interested in understanding your thought process in terms of the assessor's requested salary and the amount you decided on.
Joe?
The assessor? What,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, do that again?
Yeah, I think it's line 33.
So what was the question exactly?
You're thinking in terms of the requested versus the Board of Selectmen recommended.
We
Line
were-
30, give me the line that's on, please.
33.
No, it can't be. 33 is unemployment.
Board of
It's number 4.
salary under Board of Assessors.
Right, and I'm
Number
looking
4.
at the Excel version, yeah.
Oh, the 116 versus 112?
Right.
Or the two, or the 3,000, and then we suggested 3.
What Mr. Anderson came up with.
That they requested 116, and we recommended 112.
Right, and just quickly, what was your thinking, that's all?
That we thought that amount,
Well, that-
that we were,
Can I, because I think I'm going to give a different answer than what you're about to say.
got it.
Because we approved a salary change, so I'm not sure what that difference is. Because we approved their
They
request.
requested more.
I don't think so, I'm looking at it.
They requested more than what we suggested.
Did they?
Yep. Didn't they, Mike?
Yeah, I can look at the work papers to come up with.
We thought that it was an adequate increase, that 216 we didn't agree with, and we thought that the amount that we recommended was,
I thought we gave them what they recommended.
no, one, it was 2 in there, so one
Right.
yes and one,
It was two
one,
people, right
it was
here.
2 people.
I have it right here.
Right.
We thought it was an adequate increase.
Okay.
Anything else?
I got one.
So what are we doing, hold on, what are we doing with
Okay.
that? We haven't voted on that yet. I just
Oh.
wanted, I didn't know if
Okay.
they wanted to leave. What do you want to do about the overtime?
On the police?
On the police, his request.
Well, I mean, he made a good point, actually. That's food for thought.
Yeah, but he's just moving money around because it's his not budget. So if gas goes up $3 a gallon, not $1.89 a gallon, there goes his expense account.
That's what I was figuring it was gas, yeah.
Okay, fine. You just convinced me.
Huh?
That's fine.
So just deny it, and then if he needs it again,
He'll come back. Fine.
he'll come
Okay.
back. And we're giving him a full-time officer, another one.
I'm fine.
If we weren't
Yeah.
giving him another full-time officer, I would say no, give him the request. But we're giving him another full-time officer, which he told us that's gonna work to midnight and fill in shifts when needed.
I'm good.
Right, and we're talking the summer, you got the Labor Day and the
Yeah.
4th of July and
Yes.
stuff like that, yeah.
Any other?
Holidays?
Any other questions?
So we're denying that request. Any other questions?
Kim?
Hey, Gary, you got a second? While they're talking? Oh, okay, well, I'll get you afterwards. Just don't scoot out too quick, please.
Could you
Nothing big, I just have a question.
could you clarify on the Conservation Committee too? There was
On?
they
We
had-
thought that the amount was an adequate increase.
We basically said no to their request.
And we're giving him, in that position, is getting a raise this year.
So your recommended amount is a raise outside of the COLA or just the COLA?
This line includes the cost of living increase.
But nothing beyond that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Before you do, this, a letter came in after the agenda was posted about 911 comments. I think we need to weigh in on that at our next meeting. And post it on the agenda for the next
Yep,
meeting.
just give it to her.
But I think we need to ask Chris to ask the chief to hold off responding to this. You gave it to him and asked him to respond to it, basically. I think we should ask him to not respond to it. Respond to us or come see us. 911.
The regional, was that the
Dispatch thing.
regionalization thing?
Yeah.
Okay? So Joe is going to give you that piece of paper, and you're going to see it, and you're going to give it back to him, and you're going to tell the chief to hold off on answering anything like that until after our next meeting.
Yeah.
Simple. I mean, I don't mean to, is that all right?
What's
You
that?
You all right?
Yeah, yeah, good.
Take a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.